As you all know, at approximately 12:34 hours today, we were able to take inmate Eric Abril back into custody. I first off want to thank the men and women of the Placer County Sheriff's Office. It's been a long couple days for all the men and women that work here, and they work tirelessly to make sure that we brought this incident to a safe resolution. I also want to thank all the allied agencies that assisted. This was from local, state, and federal organizations, and without the people behind me, we wouldn't be here today to announce that Abril was safely taken into custody. So I want to thank everybody that's standing behind me today for all of their assistance to help the Placer County Sheriff's Office in this community see this issue come to a safe resolution. I also want to thank our Placer County chaplains that are here. Our chaplaincy supported hundreds of men and women that worked tirelessly on this event over the last couple days, so I want to give them a shout out as well. But most of all, I want to thank the community of Placer County. This has been a trying couple days, not just for our organization, but it's been especially trying for this community. And their patience and continued support for our organization is appreciated. Now, as we updated this morning in our search for Abril, we talked about the area of Rainier Court. We had well over 60 tips come in yesterday, and as we investigated all those leads, everything led back to the only credible sighting was back at Rainier Court at about 4 in the morning the day of the escape. All signs pointed to that was truly his location last seen. So for today's operation, we did still believe he could likely be in the area. We had no other evidence to the contrary. There's a green belt behind Rainier, Antelope Creek area. It's very thick. So part of our plan today was we sent our SWAT team along with some other SWAT teams from the region, some other allied agencies surrounded that greenbelt area, and our SWAT teams patiently worked through this thick, heavy brush from one end to the other. As they pushed towards Zion Court, an alert homeowner who was taking his dog out, the dog started barking. He saw somebody moving in that greenbelt area, and in fact, it was Abril. Law enforcement in the area descended quickly, and Abril was safely taken into custody. And when he was taken into custody, he was clothed in only his jail boxers, and he still had the belly chains around his waist, although his hands were no longer affixed in the handcuffs. His jail pants were located nearby in that Antelope Creek greenbelt area. Now, Abril is currently back at the Sutter Roseville Medical Center to be medically cleared. He's being watched by 6 members of our SWAT team, and once he's medically cleared, he'll be housed at the South Placer Jail. This has been a long couple of days for our staff and our community. And as I mentioned yesterday, I know there's a lot of questions surrounding the circumstances of this escape and how this happened, and I mentioned I had a lot of those same questions, but right now our focus was getting him back into custody, and now that he is in custody, we will be continuing and opening up our full investigation into the circumstances around Abril's escape. Now, as we conduct this full investigation, we have learned some information over the last 24 hours. We shared some of that information this morning in our press release with the fact that Abril was able to defeat some of his restraints. And as we conduct this investigation, we'll not only look into the circumstances around the escape, but we'll also review our policies, our procedures, and our equipment, quite frankly, to ensure that something like this never happens again. So with that, I'll be more than happy to take some questions.
Sheriff, yesterday you said that you had many questions about the escape. That sounds like that's still the fact at this point today. At this point, we do know that the deputy assigned to him was not asleep. So at this point, what do we know?
Like I said, that investigation is ongoing. We will get to the bottom of it. The deputy, there are parallel investigations, and now that we conduct this internal audit, review, and investigation of the deputy, this deputy does have due process rights as well, and he hasn't even been interviewed. So I would hate to speculate on what this deputy's actions were or were not prematurely.
Why has he not been interviewed yet?
He's been noticed to be interviewed, and an interview will be conducted when we can coordinate it.
Is he still fully employed by the department? Is he still on active duty?
He is.
Is Is there a chance that he...
I'm going to take somebody else's question. You got a lot of other people. Thank you.
Was there a confrontation or anything like that when he was found today?
Not to my knowledge, no. He surrendered.
Can you tell us about what the usual procedure when taking an inmate to the hospital? Can you tell us about what usually is the procedure when taking an inmate to the hospital?
Yeah, so Abril was initially taken to the hospital by ambulance, so there was some type of medical episode. The decision was made by jail medical staff that he needed to be transported to the hospital and transported by ambulance, not just in the back of a patrol car.
And what type of restraints was he under?
When he left the Placer County Jail, he was restrained with belly chains and leg shackles.
Do we know if the deputy who was guarding Abril, was he a sheriff's deputy or a correctional officer, and was wearing a body camera?
He was a sheriff's deputy. He is assigned a body camera. I can't confirm whether he was wearing it or not.
Is it standard procedure to only send one deputy to guard them when they're in the hospital like that?
The procedures for the amount of guards depends on the inmate's classification status.
And do we know if he was in the bathroom at the time of when his escape happened?
We don't know that yet because we haven't conducted the full investigation.
Can you talk about the condition of the suspect when you found them, and can you clarify what you mean by jail boxing?
Basically, he was in underwear, jail-issued underwear, and from what I understand, he had numerous abrasions and other things about his body.
Sheriff, you talked about jail classifications for a murder suspect. Would that normally be just one deputy? And moving forward, if it is just one deputy, might that change to more deputies?
Oh, 100%. So the jail classification, we have learned this over the last 24 hours, that when Abril first came into custody, he was classified as a 2-officer move. I can say that sometime during the month of May, our classification unit downgraded him to a 1-officer move, and that'll be part of this entire review of how that occurred, what prompted that decision, what levels of approval that decision needs to go through, and we'll make course corrections if that's needed to ensure that this never happens again.
Anything
sheriff of
during
this
all this
entire-
ordeal, any kind of assault, any kind of physical contact that he made with the deputy that was watching?
Not to my knowledge, but again, we're just beginning that internal investigation and review.
As the sheriff of this entire county, is it safe to say you're disappointed that this even happened?
Yeah, I would say that as the sheriff of this entire county, I take full responsibility for this incident, quite frankly. I take the protection of this community seriously, and quite frankly, as the sheriff who's in charge of the jail and the custody of prisoners, this should have never happened. And I can guarantee you this, we'll make whatever course corrections we need to, and I'll take full responsibility, and we'll make sure it never happens again, at least not while I'm the sheriff, I can guarantee you that.
Sheriff, do you believe that staffing levels could have been part of what led to this, that there was only one deputy assigned to him, that there was that transfer of jail classification?
I have no information to believe that this was at all related to staffing levels, but as the investigation unfolds, it could very well be related to the change in his classification level for sure.
And at this point, are you able to tell us how he escaped the hospital? Was it through a door, through a window? Did any hospital staff see him?
From what I understand, preliminarily, it was, through a door. He left on foot.
Sheriff, can you clarify, there was something yesterday in the press conference about a group pursuit before he actually took off?
Yes. So that's why I said he left through a door, and a deputy did give chase. Lost him, from what I understand, somewhere in the parking lot. But again, that's premature without completely doing a full investigation. And so that was preliminary information, though, but that is subject to change.
And Sheriff, for the majority of the day yesterday, we followed the SWAT team to various locations around Rockland. Were those legit reports, or did you primarily, like you said, you concentrated on Rainier Court? Was he primarily in that area, and the other sightings were just people thought that they saw him, but it actually wasn't him?
I think that would be a lot of speculation right now for me to assume that. But I mean, I can say this, that with over 60 leads we followed up on yesterday, none of them really turned out to be credible. So while we remained in that area of the point last seen, we also had to investigate all these other tips and people reporting different things, or, somebody suspicious in the area. Those were all followed up on. And then as we regrouped today to get our plan of attack, everything led us back to that Rainier Court area, which is why we started there.
Just to clarify, as far as the shackles, was he shackled to his bed at one point when he was in the hospital?
I do not know that.
Following following up on Rowena's question about the foot pursuit, was that foot pursuit with the same deputy who was assigned to guard him, or was that another deputy who happened to be at the hospital?
From what my understanding, it was the deputy that was assigned to guard him, yes.
You said that he broke his shackles, that he became unshackled. What was that via evidence through the surveillance, or did that happen at the hospital as he was running away?
Through evidence, through surveillance, we were able to determine that he was able to defeat some of his restraints. I really, due to safety and security concerns, I'm not going to get into right now how he was able to defeat the restraints.
And was he barefoot when it happened?
I believe so, yes. He was clothed only in jail boxer shorts and the belly chains around his waist.
Was there also a nurse present in the room?
Not to my knowledge, no, but again, we'll find that out once we do a full investigation.
Sheriff, earlier.
Take two more questions.
In case the investigation pointed out that there was negligence by the deputy, what are the consequences?
It would be speculative on my part. You know, I don't know what actions the deputy did or did not do that could have violated policy or not. But I can assure this community that if policies were violated, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken in proportionate to whatever the violation was.
And Sheriff, I think you mentioned
One more question.
One more, please.
I think you mentioned equipment, that was one of the things that you were going to be looking over as you critique what had taken place. Those restraints, is that something that might be upgraded, changed altogether, knowing that had failed in this case?
I think all of the above, quite frankly. Upgraded, additional restraints that could be utilized. I mean, nothing's off the table. We're very open-minded to look at this incident. We'll learn from it, we'll be better, and we'll ensure it never happens again.
Sheriff, your message to the McKeegan family.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our press conference. We thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, we just got an update there from the Placer County Sheriff's Department. Wayne Wu, the sheriff, taking responsibility for what happened. It's still unknown how the heck did a guy accused of taking hostages, murdering one of them, shooting a CHP officer who has a history of running, escaped from the hospital early yesterday morning. We are pressing for those answers this afternoon, but this is what we did learn from the news conference. Eric Abril is back at Sutter Roseville. 6 SWAT team members are now watching him there until he is medically cleared. Sheriff Wayne Wu calling it a trying couple of days and says he is taking responsibility for what happened. 12:30 this afternoon, Eric Abril was taken into custody. And the deputy involved who was guarding him will be interviewed, has not been interviewed yet, and he is still on active duty. They do say Abril was classified in May to only have 1 officer as he was moved. Prior to that, he was classified as having 2 officers, so that's part of the investigation. Now, at this point, we want a recap of how we got to this particular point, because Abril is the suspect accused of taking that couple hostage in April at Mahany Park in Roseville. He's accused of shooting a CHP officer and that couple, and the husband, James McKeegan, died. The CHP was serving a search warrant on Abril's car at the time during spring break at Roseville's Mahany Park. Kids and people, they were out and about that afternoon. One of the hostages, as we said, James McKeegan, died. And then Thursday, this past Thursday, the Sheriff's Department says Abril was brought to Sutter Roseville for an unknown medical condition. He was taken there by ambulance. They say when he left the jail, he had belly chains on and leg shackles. And somehow early Sunday morning, while under 24-hour guard, he escaped and defeated his restraints. Now, here's the fly-through right here. You could see where Sutter Roseville was. He crossed Interstate 80 somehow. That Rainier Court is where we had surveillance video of him early yesterday morning. And then they were really focused on this Greenbelt area here off of Bryce Way and Zion Court. And somebody out walking their dog spotted some movement. Law enforcement came over, and sure enough, they say it was Abril who was arrested right there in that Greenbelt. Let's listen to some scanner traffic at the moment they found him.
706.
That's true. Hold the air. If you run, you will be shot. You understand? It's confirmed it's him. He's got tattoos on his arms, matches the description, and we have the orange pants.
So the person there said orange pants. Turned out it was the boxers issued from the jail that they found him wearing.
Though they did find his orange pants nearby.
Somebody did spot them nearby. So